When people walked past me in the halls of Riverstone Technologies, their eyes would slide right over me, like I was part of the furniture. Just another shadow in a gray uniform, pushing a cleaning cart through their gleaming offices. That's the thing about being a janitor. You become invisible, but invisibility has its advantages, especially when you're building an empire right under their noses. My name is Marcus Torres, and for 5 years, I cleaned the offices of the most arrogant tech executives in Seattle while secretly running a software company that would eventually make them all look like fools. It started on a rainy Tuesday evening in 2018. I was emptying the trash in Bradley Morrison's corner office, the CEO who loved to remind everyone of his Harvard MBA, when I noticed a document left open on his desk. A software development contract worth $2.3 million for a basic inventory management system. The kind of system I could build in my sleep. You see, before life threw me some curveballs, I had a master's in computer science from MIT. But a family crisis, a sick mother, and mounting medical bills had forced me to take whatever work I could find. The janitorial position at Riverstone paid reliably and offered health insurance. More importantly, the night shift gave me my days free to work on my own projects. That contract became my inspiration. If Riverstone could charge millions for basic software, why couldn't I? I had the skills, the knowledge, and now I had something else. Insight into exactly what major companies were willing to pay for. Every night, as I cleaned their offices, I listened and learned. Executives would often work late, having loud conversations on speakerphone about their clients' needs, their pricing strategies, their pain points. They never noticed me. Why would they? I was just the guy emptying their trash, cleaning their coffee stains, dusting their awards. "Make sure you get that corner," Bradley would say without looking up from his screen, waving vaguely at some imagined dirt. His tone always carried that special kind of condescension reserved for people he considered beneath him. His assistant, Melissa, was worse. The janitor doesn't understand English very well. She'd tell visitors with a stage whisper, assuming my brown skin meant I was an immigrant. I never corrected her. Let them underestimate me. I spoke 4 languages fluently and was coding complex algorithms while they were still learning their ABCs. During my days, I built my company, Taurus Solutions. Working from my small apartment, I developed software that was faster, more intuitive, and far more sophisticated than anything Riverstone was selling. My first client came through an online freelancing platform. A small manufacturing company needed an inventory system. I charged them 1/10 of what Riverstone would have, delivered in half the time. That first success led to another, then another. I reinvested every penny into the business, living frugally in my 1-bedroom apartment, driving my old Toyota, and maintaining my janitor position. Not just for the steady paycheck, but for the invaluable market intelligence. We lost the McKinley contract. I overheard Bradley telling his board one evening while I mopped the conference room floor. They said our pricing was too high and our technology too outdated. I smiled to myself. I knew exactly who had won that contract: Taurus Solutions. My company had been operating under my mother's maiden name, Silva Technologies, to avoid any connection to the quiet janitor at Riverstone. By my 3rd year pushing that cleaning cart through their halls, my company had grown to 15 employees, all working remotely, none knowing their CEO spent his nights cleaning offices. We had clients across 3 continents, a revolutionary cloud-based enterprise system, and a reputation for excellence. Still, I kept working at Riverstone, kept listening, learning, and watching as they slowly lost market share to this mysterious new competitor they couldn't quite figure out. Silva Technologies is eating our lunch, Bradley ranted one evening, pacing his office while I cleaned his windows. Their software is better, faster, and they're undercutting us at every turn. How the hell are they doing it? I had to turn away to hide my smile. If he only knew the answer was right there, Windex bottle in hand, making his windows sparkle. The real turning point came during their annual company party. I wasn't invited, of course, but I was there anyway, refilling water pitchers and clearing away plates. Bradley had too much to drink and was holding court near the bar. "Let me tell you the secret to success," he announced to a group of young employees. "It's about knowing your place in the world. Take our janitor here." He gestured vaguely in my direction. "Some people are meant to clean floors, and some are meant to run companies. That's just how the world works." The group laughed, that uncomfortable laugh people use when they know something isn't right, but don't have the courage to say so. I memorized each of their faces. They would learn soon enough how wrong Bradley was. That night, after my shift, I sat in my car in the empty parking lot and made a call to my board of directors. Successful industry veterans who had invested in Torres Solutions but had never met me in person. "It's time," I told them. "Let's make an offer on the Riverstone building." The piece of paper that would change everything arrived 3 weeks later, delivered to Bradley Morrison's desk in a thick envelope right before I started my evening shift. I made sure I was cleaning nearby when he opened it. His face turned pale as he read, then red with anger. "This has to be a joke," he sputtered, storming out to the main office area. "Silva Technologies just bought our building. They're our new landlord." I continued cleaning, hiding my satisfaction as chaos erupted around me. Soon they would all know exactly who owned Silva Technologies. Soon they would understand that the man they had looked down on for years was about to become not just their landlord, but their biggest competitor. The next morning would bring a reckoning none of them saw coming, and I would finally reveal that success isn't about knowing your place, it's about creating it, even if you have to start with a mop in your hands. The morning of the revelation, I arrived at Riverstone Technologies dressed differently than usual. Instead of my gray janitor's uniform, I wore a tailored charcoal suit that cost more than Bradley Morrison made in a month. The security guard at the front desk, who had barely glanced at me for 5 years, did a double take. "Sir, can I help you?" he asked, not recognizing the man who had nodded hello to him every evening for half a decade. I smiled, pulling out my ID. "Marcus Torres, CEO of Silva Technologies. I believe you received a memo about our representatives arriving this morning." His eyes widened as recognition slowly dawned. "Wait, aren't you?" "Yes, James," I said, using his first name, something that made him blink in surprise. "I'm also the night janitor. Or I was, until yesterday. I've already submitted my resignation letter to the facilities management company." I left him staring after me as I walked to the elevator, my leather shoes clicking against the marble floor instead of the quiet squeak of my work boots. The same elevator I had cleaned thousands of times now carried me upward, my reflection in its polished walls showing a man stepping fully into his power. The office was already buzzing when I stepped out onto the executive floor. News of Silva Technologies buying the building had spread like wildfire, and a crowd had gathered near Bradley's office. Through the glass walls, I could see him gesturing angrily on a phone call. Melissa, his assistant, was the first to spot me. "Excuse me, this area is for..." Her voice trailed off as she squinted at me. "Do I know you?" "You do," I replied calmly, "although you usually tell visitors I don't understand English very well." The color drained from her face. Several heads turned in our direction as recognition rippled through the crowd. Bradley, noticing the sudden silence, looked up from his phone call. Our eyes met through the glass wall, and I saw the exact moment understanding hit him. He dropped his phone. "Security!" he shouted, rushing out of his office. "What is the meaning of this?" I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. "The meaning is quite simple, Mr. Morrison. As your new landlord, I'm here to discuss some changes to the building's management structure. But first, I believe proper introductions are in order. I am Marcus Torres, CEO of Silva Technologies, or as you know us, the company that's been eating your lunch for the past 2 years. I gestured to the gathering crowd. Most of you know me better as the night janitor who's been cleaning your offices, collecting your trash, and apparently not understanding English. The silence was deafening. Bradley's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "This is impossible," he sputtered. "You're a janitor." "Correction," I said, my voice carrying clearly through the stunned office. "I was a janitor. I'm also an MIT graduate with a master's in computer science, fluent in 4 languages, and the founder of a company currently valued at $300 million. And thanks to all of you, I had the perfect market research laboratory right here." Melissa had sunk into her chair, looking like she might faint. Others were whispering furiously, some looking ashamed, others incredulous. I noticed Janet from accounting, one of the few who had always treated me with kindness, trying to hide a smile. "Every time you discussed pricing strategies in front of me, every time you complained about lost contracts, every time you bragged about overcharging clients for subpar software, you gave me invaluable insights." I turned to Bradley. "You were right about one thing, though. Success is about knowing your place in the world. I just decided not to accept the place you thought I should stay in." "This is a trick," Bradley declared, but his voice wavered. "A publicity stunt." I pulled out my phone and dialed a number on speaker. "Mr. Williams, could you please join us?" A minute later, Thomas Williams, my company's well-known CFO and board member, stepped out of the elevator. "Good morning, Marcus," he said warmly, then turned to address the crowd. "I assume you're all meeting our CEO properly for the first time. I must say, his understanding of market dynamics and customer needs is unparalleled. Though I never did understand why he insisted on keeping his identity quiet for so long." Bradley had collapsed into a chair, his face ashen. "The contracts, the McKinley account, that was you." I nodded. "Along with the Peterson Group, Western Dynamics, and about 30 other former Riverstone clients. Turns out people prefer working with a company that respects everyone, regardless of their position." "You can't do this," Bradley whispered, but the fight had gone out of his voice. "You can't just walk in here and—" "Actually, I can," I interrupted. "As your new landlord, I'm exercising my right to review all tenant situations. And given Riverstone's declining market position and late rent payments for the past 3 months, we have some decisions to make." The whispers turned to gasps. Few people knew about the late payments. I had seen the notices while cleaning the accounting department. "We're making changes to the building's operational structure," I continued. "First, all janitorial staff will receive a significant pay increase and full benefits. Second, any company renting space in this building must maintain strict ethical standards in their treatment of all employees, regardless of position." I turned to face the crowd directly. "And finally, Riverstone Technologies has 30 days to either meet these new standards or find new office space. I hear there are some nice vacancies in the industrial district." Bradley jumped up. "You can't evict us. We'll sue." Thomas stepped forward, his legal background evident in his calm demeanor. "Everything is perfectly legal, Mr. Morrison. We can provide you with all the necessary documentation. Though I wouldn't recommend a legal battle, our evidence of discriminatory practices and toxic workplace culture is quite extensive." I walked to the window, looking out at the Seattle skyline. 5 years ago, I took this job out of necessity. I needed the health insurance to help care for my sick mother. But I stayed because you all taught me something valuable. Success isn't just about building something better. It's about changing the system that keeps people down. Turning back to the stunned faces, I smiled. "Now, shall we discuss your new lease terms? Or would you prefer to start looking for new office space?" The next few hours were a blur of meetings, legal discussions, and shocked conversations. Word spread through the building like electricity. The janitor who had quietly cleaned their offices for years was actually a successful CEO who now owned the building. Every snide comment, every dismissive gesture, every moment of condescension had been witnessed and remembered by someone they never thought would hold power over them. By afternoon, Bradley had retreated to his office, frantically calling investors and board members. Melissa had taken a sick day and gone home. But others, especially those who had shown me kindness over the years, came forward with congratulations and, in some cases, job applications. As I sat in my car that evening, looking up at the building I now owned, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Your father would have been so proud," she wrote. "He always said success was the best revenge." I smiled, thinking of all the nights I had pushed that cleaning cart through these halls, dreaming of this moment. But now that it had arrived, I realized something important. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about transformation. Not just of my own life, but of a system that too often judges people by their current position rather than their potential. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. There would be legal threats from Bradley, attempts to discredit me, and the massive task of restructuring both the building's management and my growing company. But for now, I savored the quiet satisfaction of having shown them all that sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one they don't even see. The real work was just beginning, and this time, I wouldn't be the one cleaning up their messes. 6 months after my revelation as the owner of Silva Technologies, I stood in what used to be Bradley Morrison's corner office, watching the Seattle sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. The space looked different now. Gone were the pretentious awards and self-congratulatory photos, replaced by a collaborative workspace where my team could gather and innovate. The changes in the building had been dramatic, but not in the way most people expected. Despite having every right to evict Riverstone Technologies, I had offered them a chance to stay, under new management and with very specific conditions. Bradley, predictably, hadn't taken it well. The day after my revelation, he had stormed into my temporary office, previously the janitor's break room, which I had specifically chosen for its symbolism, with 2 lawyers in tow. "This is corporate espionage," he had blustered, throwing a thick folder on my desk. "We're suing you for every penny you have." I had simply smiled and pressed play on my laptop, showing security camera footage of him berating staff, making discriminatory comments, and discussing questionable business practices, all recorded during my years as the invisible janitor in the background. "Would you like me to play the audio of you instructing Melissa to falsify billing records for the Anderson account?" I had asked calmly. "Or perhaps the conversation where you bragged about overcharging clients for outdated software?" His lawyers had exchanged glances and quietly suggested they reassess their strategy. Bradley had resigned the following week, though he insisted it was to pursue other opportunities. The real surprise had come from Riverstone's board of directors. After reviewing the evidence I had gathered and seeing the innovation potential of Silva Technologies, they had proposed a merger. Not a hostile takeover, but a true partnership that would preserve jobs while transforming the company culture. Your experience gives you a unique perspective, the board chairman had said. You've seen this company from both the bottom and the top. Who better to lead us into the future? I had accepted, but on my terms. The first order of business? A complete overhaul of employee compensation and treatment, starting with the cleaning and maintenance staff. Every person who worked in the building, regardless of position, would receive living wages, full benefits, and respect. Janet from accounting had been promoted to CFO after her detailed knowledge of the company's finances proved invaluable during the transition. She had been one of the few who had always seen people for their potential rather than their position. Melissa, surprisingly, had asked to stay. I want to learn to be better, she had said, her usual arrogance replaced by genuine remorse. I was wrong about, well, everything. She now ran our diversity and inclusion training program, using her own past behavior as an example of what needed to change. The McKinley contract, which had been one of our biggest points of contention with Riverstone, had expanded under the merged company's new direction. We chose Silva Technologies because they understood value isn't just about price, their CEO had told me. Now we see it was also about values. My mother's health had improved, thanks to the advanced medical care I could now provide. She had moved into a comfortable house near the office, and every Friday we had dinner together, often joined by my team members who had become like family. Remember when you used to come home exhausted from cleaning all night? She asked one evening. Look at you now, Mahijo. You didn't just build a company, you built a legacy. That legacy became clearer 1 year after the merger when I received an email from a young woman named Sophia, a custodian working her way through engineering school. I heard your story, she wrote. Yesterday, one of the executives saw me reading a coding book during my lunch break. Instead of laughing, she asked about my studies and offered me an internship. She said you taught them to look for talent everywhere. The email had brought tears to my eyes. This was why I had maintained my cover for so long, gathering evidence not just of wrongdoing, but of the systemic biases that needed to change. Today, as I prepared for our annual company meeting, I thought about how far we'd come. The merged company, now called Taurus Stone Innovation Group, had tripled in value. Our software was still the best in the industry, but our real innovation had been in creating a corporate culture that valued every contributor. The meeting room filled with employees from all levels of the company. The old hierarchy that had once separated important people from the help had disappeared. Our head of UX design had started in the mailroom. Our newest board member had previously worked as a parking attendant while earning his MBA. Good morning, I began, looking out at the faces before me. Today marks 1 year since our merger, but more importantly, it marks 1 year since we began proving that success doesn't belong to any one group of people. It belongs to those who persist, regardless of their starting point. I gestured to the cleaning cart I had rolled onto the stage, the same one I had pushed through these halls for 5 years. Some of you know this cart well. I kept it as a reminder that dignity isn't given by position. It's inherent in every person who shows up and does their best work, whatever that work may be. The room was silent, many nodding in understanding. Last quarter, our profits exceeded projections by 45%. Our employee satisfaction scores are the highest in the industry. And just yesterday, Forbes magazine named us one of the best companies to work for, specifically citing our practice of promoting from within and recognizing potential in unexpected places. I smiled, thinking of Bradley and his beliefs about people knowing their place. But our real success isn't in the numbers. It's in the stories I hear every day. The security guard who's now leading our cybersecurity team. The receptionist who identified a way to streamline our client communication and is now our head of customer experience. The janitor who? Well, you all know that story. Laughter rippled through the room. We're not just a technology company. We're proof that the greatest untapped resource in any organization is the human potential they fail to see. Success isn't about knowing your place. It's about refusing to let others define your limits. After the meeting, I walked through the office floors, greeting people by name, something Bradley had never bothered to do. The building felt different now, alive with possibility, rather than weighted by hierarchy. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Bradley Morrison's new venture files for bankruptcy. I felt no satisfaction, only a quiet acknowledgement that success built on demeaning others was always built on sand. That evening, as I prepared to leave the office, I passed the janitor's closet where I had once changed into my uniform every night. A new plaque hung on the door. From this space, a revolution in corporate culture began. Every position has power. Every person has potential. I smiled, remembering all the nights I had stood in that small room, dreaming of the day I would transform this company. Those dreams had come true, but in a way I hadn't expected. Yes, I had become successful, but more importantly, I had created a path for others to follow. As I walked to my car, I passed James, the security guard who had first witnessed my transformation from janitor to CEO. He was helping a young maintenance worker with some computer coding questions. "Mr. Torres," James called out. "Remember how you said success is about creating opportunities?" I nodded. "Well, Marco here is a programming genius. I think you'll want to see what he's been working on." I smiled, recognizing the look of determination in Marco's eyes, the same look I had carried for 5 years. "Let's talk tomorrow," I said. "My office is always open." Driving home, I thought about how true success isn't in proving others wrong. It's in proving that their entire system of judgment was flawed from the start. Every night, people like Marco clean offices, serve food, guard buildings, and dream of something more. They don't need pity or handouts. They need what everyone needs, a chance to show their true potential. I had done more than build $1 million company. I had created a place where the next Marcus Torres wouldn't have to spend 5 years pretending to be less than they were. And that, more than any revenue number or market share, was the real measure of success.